Hi, I'm Marlene of Craig Prush's channel, and I'm Craig's wife. And today is August 28th, 2023. We kind of wanted to do a garden summary or an update, and I kind of wanted to go through some things with the garden, things that worked for us and things that didn't, and hopefully help you to get you a little knowledge on things that might work for you. My gardening background is I grew up on a dairy farm, and so a lot of my practices might be old school. I was the youngest child, so my parents were older and they have some old school methods of how they do it, but I kind of combined it with some things that I've learned, off the internet and YouTube, and kind of combined some things, and just kind of wanted to share my knowledge with you so that you can get some ideas, and we'll go from there. So my philosophy on, I'm going to give you my philosophy, and this is just my personal opinion, take it or leave it. What I do with things that I learn on the internet or on YouTube is I do what's right for me. So you do what's right for you. What I do might not work for you, and your feelings might not be my feelings, but I have definite feelings of how I feel about pesticides versus organic gardening. Now, like I said, I learned a lot from my parents and from my aunt, and they grew up during the time where pesticides were new, and it was a good thing because they just put the old they use a 7 dust, and you can still get that. Matter of fact, I have some in my garage that I'm not going to use, but that's what they used, and they were successful at it. And I can't say whether it did harm to them or not, because my aunt lived to be 90-something, and my mother not so much, but she had other problems. And my dad lived at a good age too, but it's just really tricky because you don't know if you got to put it on at certain times. If you put it on, you can't put it on when it's bearing fruit. When it's blossoming, it's tricky because it can kill good beneficial bugs, so you really don't want to do that either. So I have grandchildren, my son's family, my son and daughter-in-law, and the grandkids come down here, and I just don't want to expose them to that. So we try to do the organic thing. Now, I'm not going to tell you it's easy. Okay, so every plant has its own pests that we have to deal with. So, I'm going to go over that with you about the different plants and the different pests and the things that we did to try to combat it. It's not easy doing the organic way, but it's the way that we want to do it, because that's why we're having our garden, is so that we can avoid getting vegetables from the store that we don't know how it was handled. So, so that's how we're dealing with it. Okay, so one of the ways that we deal with the pests is we did marigolds, and as you can see, these ones are huge. And we're real proud of ourselves because my daughter-in-law and I started these from seed. Most of our plants are peppers and tomatoes, and the marigolds here I started from seeds, and they're called a Sunset Giant variety. And what the marigolds do is they help with the pest control, and a lot of I think it's cucumber beetles, and there's different other pests do not like the smell of the marigolds. And there's other plants too. You can do your own research on it. I started to do it, but I got too late in the season here to plant anything more, so this is all I settled on, was doing the marigolds. But there are companion type of flowers that you can use that will help with the gardening pests and deter. I know dill Dill is one of them. Basil is another one. Those are herbs that you can use that will help with that. It's not going to get rid of them completely, but it will help. So one of the things with the marigolds that I want to say, you don't have to put them at the end of your row of your vegetables. You can intermix it. I mean, you can do your research and see if it's compatible, but most of the plants you can, instead of putting another tomato plant with your tomato, you can intermix it in with your tomatoes, or, you know, I did some in my cucumbers there too, and you can intermix them so they're closer to the plant, and that might be beneficial to ward off the pest of that particular plant. Okay. So one of the things that I was looking for research on how to get rid of cucumber beetles, and had a lot of problems with them. So there's all different kinds of things out there that you can do organically with them, but nobody really said anything about this. But I got the idea of getting a little mini vacuum that's rechargeable, and I used a little crevice tool that it came with, and then I put a little straw at the end with some duct tape, and this way I can stick it down in the blossom, because that's where a lot of them are. I can stick it down in the blossom, turn it on, and that way I don't disrupt the pollen so much. I just get the bug that's in there, so I turn it on when I'm ready to get them, and I'll demonstrate for you. And they're in there. So it's as simple as that to get them. Okay, another issue I have in my squashes, I have these squash bugs, and they start off with eggs, usually underneath your leaf, right there. All right, and what I use is painter's tape, and get the wide variety, and then you just put it on there like that, and then they peel off onto there. The one thing you want to do is how to dispose of them. If you can burn them in a little barrel or something, you can burn them. I wouldn't put them in my garbage because they could break out. It's either that or just squish them like that and then they're dead. You can do that too. Also too, I see here we got a little ladybug, and they're beneficial. So you want to keep her there, and she will take care of some things. So these ones aren't adults, but they're halfway there. So I take off my crevice tool, and then there they are. And they're in there. Okay, so here we go. We got some other ones here. I use a fabric lint roller, and it's the kind that has the tape on it. And you put it on there, and you just roll them on there. Just go on the other opposite of the leaf. And there you go. You got them all on there in one swipe. And they'll stay on there. So this contraption I came up with was the first thing we had problems with. We heard a lot of crows, and the crows obviously are going to get your corn. They'll get the seeds, and when the corn just starts coming up. So what I did was I got these party hats from a dollar store, and they're holographic party hats because birds don't like, especially crows, don't like shiny stuff that shines like that with movement. So I got the party hats, They already had 2 holes on either side. I used a paper punch and punched holes on the other side. And then I got this holographic scare tape off of Amazon. And I did it, I don't know, it was the length of my table, so probably about 4 feet of it I cut. Put it through the hole and got it equal, you know, whatever the length was, and just tied a knot in it. And then I put a paper clip, opened up the paper clip, and secured it in there with tape and with staples. And then we just got poles that we put it on and duct taped it on, and that's what we used. And also the deer, it scares the deer too, and which right here is where I'm standing, is where our string beans were, and we did get a deer that came in here and ate the top of it, but they're doing fine now. But I strategically put it in places to scare them away. So how I dispose of the little bugs that are in the vacuum, I have a big mayonnaise jar that's got some like dish soap in it, some squirts of dish soap in it, and just water. And I take the filter off, and I have to do it quickly and turn it upside down and just dump the bugs in there, and it just kills them instantly. And that's how I handle the bugs that are in the little vacuum cleaner. So for the tomatoes, what we did, and we tried, I decided I wanted to do the string method and training the tomatoes to go up the string. Now, I don't want to say it was a fail, because there's a couple of things I could have done that would have made it more successful. We put up 7-foot T-posts on either end of the row, and we just put wire. It's electric fence wire that we use to tie them up. Now that's where the fail is the wire, because it drooped down. There's a couple things I could have done. You can buy, I think, off of Amazon. There's things you could put at the end of the T-posts that has a hollow PVC piping that's hollow in the middle, so that you could shove rebar between the 2 posts, and that probably would have been more solid. There's also, I think, another attachment you can put on your 7-foot T-post that will accept a 2x4, or I think a 1x1, probably a 2x4, that you can put up on there that you could tie them to, and it would make it more rigid so that it wouldn't dip down. Overall, I think it's a good thing, because this falls into, like, we're trying to prevent disease with the tomatoes. So tomatoes can't be in contact, shouldn't be in contact with the ground, and that's a whole nother subject of, like, trimming them and all that, and someday I'll get into that. But I did my best to try to get them up off the ground, and when I first did them, they came out really good. But right now it's like and it's not a bad complaint, they're just heavy with a lot of tomatoes. So, and I have so many tomatoes, I should do a contest of, like, if you can guess how many tomato plants we have here, you would win, because I haven't even counted how many tomatoes there are, but there's a lot. And these were all ones that we grew from seed, and they've just done fantastic. They've done so well. And so I try to do my best to training them up, and this is where we are with them right now, and they've just gotten crazy. So I've just letting them get ripe at this point, but there's a couple things I would have done different. One is the wire, and I mean, really that's the only thing that I would have done different, is just done something that was more had more substance to it, so that it would stay rigid and it wouldn't dip down. So to end this video, I'm just going to say, don't get discouraged with your garden. Every plant has its own pest. Every problem has its solution. You just got to do your research, do what makes sense to you and your family, and just go from there. You know, if something doesn't work, just keep doing your research and find something that's going to make sense to you. And we hope that you enjoyed this video, and that you gained some knowledge from it, because that's all we really want to do. It's not to tell you how to do it, it's just just what worked for us, and maybe it might work for you. And we'll see you for now, and glad you came and checked out our video. Bye-bye.